This story has been a challenging one. I have re-recorded this intro like 7 times already. I saw this yesterday and I couldn't even report on it. All of the things that he is rolling back, all of the gains from the civil rights era and the feminist era, just erased with the stroke of some pens. To all of the MAGA people that are not straight, not white men, not able-bodied, I hope I really hope that you really reflect on where we all are because you voted for this man. I understand why white men voted for him. I understand why Christian white men voted for him. But all of the others, look at what he has done. Donald Trump has revoked the 1965 Equal Employment Opportunity Act. Notably, the order prohibited discrimination in hiring based on race, religion, skin color, sex, or nationality. That is what the Equal Employment Opportunity Act did. It prohibited discrimination. So let's talk about it. Why President Johnson signed the executive order in 1965 that Trump rescinded. This country was built on racism, classism, and sexism. And in order to even get to where we are today, it had to go through the legislative process. It had to be legislated because so many people had, they were compelled to keep discrimination alive and well, but because it kept the upper echelons of white men and Christians at the top and everybody else at the bottom. So you people voting Trump in helped to erase all of that. And now we can go right back to the discrimination of the 50s and 60s before all of these rights were won. Good. Okay, let me just get into this article. When the United States President Lyndon B. Johnson took the stage at Howard University in June of 1965, he had already signed the Civil Rights Act into law. And he said he expected to sign the Voting Rights Act shortly. The hard-fought legislation crafted after widespread protests and demonstrations by Black Americans was not enough. Johnson told Howard's historically Black university graduating class. He laid out the vast economic gulf between Black and white Americans and his plans to address it. Black poverty is not the same as white poverty, Johnson, a Democrat, said. It was also caused by ancient brutality, past injustice, and present prejudice. Black Americans are still buried under a blanket of history and circumstance. It is not a lasting solution to lift just one corner of that blanket. We must stand on all sides and we must raise the entire cover if we are to liberate our fellow citizens, he said. Rather than improving, their situation was declining by many measures, Johnson said. Black male income had declined and unemployment risen in recent years, he noted. The unemployment rate for Black and white men was nearly equal 35 years ago, he said, but since then have become twice as high for Black men than white. The median income for Black families dropped from 57% of what white households earned in 1952 to 53% in 1963. Johnson said he was calling a conference of scholars, government officials, and Black leaders to ensure that Black Americans move beyond opportunity to achievement. In September, he signed Executive Order 11246 forbidding employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, and national origin by organizations receiving federal contracting and required federal contractors to set up detailed affirmative action programs to make sure that was the case that are monitored by the federal government. Trump rescinded the order late on Tuesday in a flurry of measures aimed at repealing diversity programs across the country in a move that could have far-reaching impacts. The White House included the order's elimination under a list of measures calling it terminating illegal discrimination in the federal government. The rescinded order is the federal authority underpinning affirmative action for federal contractors and subcontractors, law firm Dwayne Morris explained in a message to federal contractors. The executive order represents a radical change in government policy that throws the entire existence of race and gender-based affirmative action into limbo. The phrase affirmative action and much of the executive order Trump is repealing itself built on one signed by Johnson's predecessor, John F. Kennedy, in March 1961, which asked government contractors to take affirmative action to ensure employees and applicants were treated without regard to their race, creed, color, or national origin. Trump's rescinding of a 60-year-old order comes as the racial gap in median income has improved only slightly since LBJ's 1965 speech. The median income of a white non-Hispanic family in 2023 was just over $89,000, according to the U.S. Census, while the median income of Black households was just over $56,000, about 63% of white households. When Trump burst on the scene and was talking about making America great again, I would always ask the question to MAGA people, when was America great for all Americans? And to me, it always seemed like he was specifically speaking to Christian white males. And I never heard them speak on anything outside of the 1950s. And in the 1950s, it was a deplorable time for women and non-white folks because, otherwise there wouldn't have been a need for all of the civil rights movements and feminist movements to get on par with women and non-white people having actual human rights in this country. And so that was the reason why these executive orders, were even necessary. And now we have gone backwards. So here's his executive order, ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity. So he wants to go to a time back before the 1965 executive order when we could literally in this country just discriminate on the basis of race, sex, national origin, and the like. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, purpose. Longstanding federal civil rights laws protect individual Americans from discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. These civil rights protections serve as a bedrock supporting equality of opportunity for all Americans. As president, I have a solemn duty to ensure that these laws are enforced for the benefit of all Americans. Yet today, roughly 60 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, critical and influential institutions of American society, including the federal government, major corporations, financial institutions, the medical industry, large commercial airlines, law enforcement agencies, and institutions of higher education have adopted and actively use dangerous, demeaning, and immoral race and sex-based preferences under the guise of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, or diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility that can violate the civil rights laws of this nation. The fact that they actually put accessibility in there is just abhorrent. Like, do able-bodied people really need protection? Illegal DEI and DEIA policy not only violate the text and spirit of our longstanding federal civil rights laws, they also undermine our national unity as they deny, discredit, and undermine the traditional American values of hard work, excellence, and individual achievement in favor of an unlawful, corrosive, and pernicious identity-based spoils system. I highly doubt that this man wrote this, putting pernicious in there. Okay. Hardworking Americans who deserve a shot at the American dream should not be stigmatized, demeaned, or shut out of opportunities because of their race or sex. These illegal DEI and DEIA policies also threaten the safety of American men, women, and children across the nation by diminishing the importance of individual merit, aptitude, hard work, and determination when selecting people for jobs and services in key sectors of American society, including all levels of government and the medical, aviation, and law enforcement communities. Yet in case after tragic case, the American people have witnessed firsthand the disastrous consequences of illegal, pernicious discrimination that has prioritized how people were born instead of what they were capable of doing. And with that, I'm going to end that there. So, discrimination is back on the table. Here we go. That's where we are. This is going to be a rocky next few decades because it has been overturned. And this is just where we are. Hope people are happy. Hope colored MAGA are happy. Hope women MAGA are happy. Hope disabled and LGBTQ MAGA are happy. Like, comment, and share, y'all. Like, comment, and share.